Hi folks, it's Daniela Rose and I am back with a gluten-free vegan dessert today. I'm not huge on desserts, but I thought I might share one of my creations with you. I've called it Cashew a Date, if you get what I mean. So I'm going to be starting with the base and then working my way to the filling and then the icing. It'll end up looking similar to a caramel slice, but it's not the same texture at all. I'm going to start with the base, and here I have 150 grams of cashew nut, 50 grams of quinoa flakes. You can choose to use oats as well if you please, 4 medjool dates, and some coconut oil as well. We'll go with combining the cashew nuts and the quinoa flakes into a food processor or a blender to begin with to make the base. Just blended that all up into a powder. Next up, I'm going to add those 4 dates and the coconut oil as well. And that's 50 grams of coconut oil into the mix. I'll show you the consistency of everything that I've whizzed up. It's kind of thick and gooey in consistency. And I've simply lined a cake tin with some parchment paper here. I'm going to empty out this entire mixture on the parchment paper and kind of use the back of a spoon to make sure that it's an even kind of playing field. And that will be the base of this particular cake. Base mixture can get a bit sticky sometimes, so a great hint is just to wet the back of your spoon, and that helps out just making it a bit easier to spread it out along the base. Spread it out all along the bottom there. Try to get it in as close as I could to the edges, etc. I like my cakes looking a bit rustic, to be honest, so I'm going to place this base here in the fridge and let it rest while I work on the rest of the filling. Now we've come up to the exciting part, the fillings, the guts of this particular dessert. And I've got 350 grams of medjool dates that I've pitted. I'm going to place this all into a saucepan, half a cup of coconut milk, which has been unsweetened, into the mix. Next up, I'm adding 150 grams of coconut oil. And then I have 25 mils of rice malt syrup. You can use a maple syrup if you please, but I'm using a rice malt because it's simply what I had in my pantry this afternoon. And then before I show you what goes on the stove, I'm going to add a pinch of salt. Let's go over to the stove now. Welcome to the stove side. I've got all those ingredients that I showed you earlier in the pan here. We're going to turn it up to a pretty high heat. We want to bring everything to the boil for about 2 to 3 minutes until those dates are super soft. Before I whip up this beauty here, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of this vanilla bean extract. Now we're going to whiz this up. And it's looking like a jammy consistency. So that is our caramel in this caramel slice. I'm going to spoon this out on here and just make sure that I'm going into the corners and making it as even as possible. I have spread that all out across the base there. I'm going to place this back in the fridge and I'm going to bring you over stove side to make the chocolate icing to seal the deal. So come on over, guys. For the icing aspect, it's really straightforward. We've got a pan here that I've just started to warm up, so I'm going to put it down to a medium heat. I've got 150 grams of coconut oil here in the mix. I'm going to just allow that to melt. We don't want to overcook it, so as soon as the other parts start to melt down, I'm going to turn the stove off. As you can see, that is all melted, so I'm just going to turn it off. Simply add 5 tablespoons of raw cacao powder. I've opted for an organic powder. Next up, I've got 2 teaspoons of rice malt syrup that I'm also going to add into the mix. You can opt for a maple syrup if you like. Whisk that all up and set that aside for 10 minutes before we pour over our construction. We've got that cocoa there that has cooled down for 10 minutes. We've We've got the base that has been in the fridge for a while, just cooling down along with the filling that we put on earlier. So all I'm simply gonna do is give this a nice whirl to pick up all the pieces of cacao and everything else and pour over the top. Now folks, this goes back in the fridge. Allow it to rest for about 3 hours, and then the cutting process begins. The finished product, as you can see, it's got 3 beautiful levels there. They are super gooey, so do keep them in the fridge. But as I said, vegan, gluten-free, cashew and date. Better get in quick because they'll go fast.